The title of this note is Complex Fractions, and the outcome is to be able to simplify complex fractions. So your steps to simplifying. Complex fraction is when you have fractions within fractions. So your first step is going to be to simplify the numerator into one fraction. Secondly, you'll simplify the denominator into one fraction. And then lastly, you're going to divide the numerator by the denominator, or a simpler way of doing that is multiplying by the reciprocal. So let's look at an example. So here's a complex fraction. We've got 5 fractions in total, 2 in the numerator, 2 in the denominator, and then that whole big fraction. So step 1, we're going to simplify the numerator. So for right now, we're going to ignore the denominator. We're just going to look at the numerator. So I see that this denominator here is an a squared. So what I can do is I can multiply the other fraction of the numerator by a over a. That's that fancy form of 1. And that'll give us a squared in the denominator. So that gives us 25a over a squared minus 5 over a squared. And now that they both have the same denominator, we can subtract the numerators. So that's step 1, we've simplified the numerator. Now we're going to simplify the denominator. So we're not going to look at the numerator yet. Okay, so looking at those denominators, we have 4 and 9. There is no GCF there. The least common multiple between 4 and 9 is 36. So we're going to multiply that fraction by 4 over 4 to get our denominator 36. And then 9 over 9. So that gives us 27a over 36 plus 100 over 36. Now that those fractions have the same denominator, we can add them. So now our complex fraction is this thing right here. So we've done step 1 in blue, step 2 in green. So now our third step is to simplify this complex fraction by actually dividing the numerator by the denominator. So the easiest way to do that is to multiply the numerator by the reciprocal of the denominator. So that's going to look like the numerator. Instead of dividing by a fraction, it's easier to think of it as multiplication by the reciprocal. And then now to multiply these, we're going to multiply the numerators and the denominator. I don't see any factors that will simplify, so we are going to have to go ahead and multiply these. Remember to distribute the monomial, the single term, to the binomial, the two terms. Okay, so 36 times 25. I don't have a calculator in front of me. If you see a mistake here, just do it correctly. I'm getting 900. I believe that's 210, 5 times 36. And then 27a cubed plus 100a squared. So a complex fraction is simplified when you have just one single fraction. Okay, let's look at another example. Here's another complex fraction. That last fraction only had one variable, it was a. Notice that this fraction has two variables, n and m. So again, our goal is to simplify this into one single fraction. So step 1, looking at the numerator first, we're going to subtract those terms. But first we need to make them have the same denominator. So we're going to have 4n minus 2mn all over 8m. And then the denominator, look there, the denominators there are already the same. That's convenient. So just m plus n squared all over n plus 4. So now we're going to divide the numerator by the denominator, but dividing by a fraction is not something we want to do. Instead, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. And we're looking for GCFs or factors, and we're not seeing any. So we're going to go ahead and simplify this. Now, in the numerator, there's two binomials times each other. So you are going to have to multiply those using either the FOIL method or the box method, whatever makes the most sense for you. I'm going to do my work off to the side here. I'm going to use the box method. So 4n times n is 4n squared. That's mn squared. And I'm looking for like terms. I don't see any. Mathematicians like to do things in alphabetical order. So I'm going to use the terms with an m first. And so I see both of these terms have m's in them, but one has an n squared and one has an n. So when you have two letters that are the same, you go with the highest degree first. So negative 2m squared minus 8mn plus 4n squared plus 16n. Neither of those has an m, so the n squared goes first. Okay, all over. Denominator is much simpler. We're just going to be distributing 8m squared plus 8m n squared. So there's two example problems for you. What you should do at this time is you should try numbers 3 and 4 here, and the answers are here so that you can check your work.